I'm just off, Mr. Carson.
According to the wine book, we should still have 6 dozen of this. But I'm begging if I can find much more than 4.
Look again before you jump to any nasty conclusions.
Long time since you last took a night off.
You don't think I ought to stay, do you?
Yeah, certainly not. Be off with you.
And Anna's in bed with a cold, so I'm afraid it's all down to you.
Go.
Well, that's the greatness done and dusted for the night.
William? You had a good night?
I'm off to bed.
Wait. What happened?
Nothing. Doesn't matter.
How was your evening, Mrs. Hughes?
Very enjoyable, thank you. The others are just behind me, so you can lock up in a minute. Well, I'll say good night.
Good night, Mrs. Saunders.
Night.
No, good night.
Good night, Mrs. Hughes. I was right when I said she was looking sparkly-eyed.
I beg your pardon, Thomas.
He can disapprove all he likes. Mrs. Hughes has got a fancy man.
Him, a fancy man.
Don't be so nasty, Daisy. It doesn't suit you.
I reckon there's a job vacancy coming up. Mr. Bryan, do you fancy a promotion?
Oh, very droll. If she's got a boyfriend, I'm a giraffe.
I put out the Rundle candlestick for dinner tonight. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll come back later.
No, stay, please. I've got something I'd like to talk to you about, if you've a minute. Before I first came here as head housemaid, I was walking out with a farmer. When I told him I'd taken a job at Downton, he asked me to marry him. I was a farmer's daughter from Argyll, so I knew the life. He was very nice, but then I came here and I did well, and I didn't want to give it up, so I told him no, and he married someone else. She died 3 years ago, and last month he wrote asking to see me again. And I agreed, because all this time I've wondered.
Go on.
I met him the other night. We had dinner at the Grantham Arms, and after he took me to the fair.
And he was horrible and fat and red-faced, and you couldn't think what you ever saw in him.
He was still a nice man. He is still a nice man. Well, he was a bit red-faced, and his suit was a little tight, but none of that matters. In the real ways, he hadn't changed.
And he proposed again, and you accepted?
In many ways, I wanted to accept. But I'm not that farm girl anymore. I was flattered, of course, but I've changed, Mr. Carson.
Life's altered you, as it's altered me. And what would be the point of living if we didn't let life change us? You won't be leaving, then?
Better come. Mrs. Patmore's on the rampage. She wants the key to the store cupboard. You know how hungry she gets. She hasn't got one of her own.
Nor will she have, not while I'm housekeeper here. Leaving? When would I ever find the time?
I have to go. Catherine and Mary.
You feel better, but right.
You shouldn't have to do that.
Might I have a word? I want to say something before I ring the gong. I'm afraid it's not very pleasant. His lordship is missing a very valuable snuff box. It appears to have been taken from the case in his room. If one of you knows anything about this, will he or she please come to me? Your words will be heard in the strictest confidence. Thank you.
I am sorry, Mr. Bates. What an unpleasant thing to have happened.
Why are you picking on him?
Because he's the only one of us who goes in there. But don't worry, I'm sure he'll turn up.
Thank you for your concern. I hate this kind of thing. I hope to God they find it. Better get a move on.